This is Cyber Sam, and let's teach tech. I had a really good conversation this week with an associate. I have not had an associate, especially consistently, throughout the 20 years I've been teaching or so. And the associate kind of approached me and said, how can I help with not only students with IEPs and 504s, but in general in the class? And the teacher brought up the phone distraction in the classroom. And I wanted to share my current philosophy and thoughts on phones. This is a hot topic. This is a topic that has bothered me for years. Ever since phones have become the norm, and ever since phones have become a distraction, it really has eaten at me in the past, and I still don't have a perfect setup or situation. So I wanted to share some of the thoughts I discussed with that associate. One thing I can't do in my class is say, hey, phones are a safety hazard. So some of us, we're gonna cut off our thumb or get electrocuted or something if we are distracted with devices and we're staring down going like this. So I can't really do that in my technology, whether it's cybersecurity or computer programming kind of courses. Phones are not a safety concern in my class. Some of us feel this is a real black and white issue. You walk in the room, you put your phone in a box, or if I see your phone, I'm gonna take it away or something like that. In the past, I've said, I don't wanna see your phones, for instance. And it doesn't work. Students pull out their phones. Students leave their phones on the desk. And then I go, I don't want to see your phone. Or I walk up to the student quietly and say, hey, I see your phone, blah, blah, blah. And it becomes a power struggle. And what I really want to avoid, and what I've tried to build in my classroom, is a space where we don't have power struggles. They're extremely, extremely rare, because that's not the vibe I want in my room. That's not a great learning atmosphere in general. So I do start the year, and I've talked about this in a previous video, with a classroom compact. So I ask questions like, what is good, I can't remember the exact wording, but what's a good vibe in the class? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What do you want this classroom to be like? And students give me feedback. I have them work in pairs and turn that in, and then I try to summarize, and I come up with a few statements. This year, my students, I summarized their statements. They said, in order to do our best work and treat each other with respect and care, we agree to or not to. And these are the things I kind of summarized. They said, respect each other's differences, viewpoints, space, stuff, and learning. Be kind. Work collaboratively and help others. Give my attention to the classwork. Use technology responsibly and do our best. So I summarized all the things they said into those statements, and then I came back. I basically read that to the class, showed on the screen, and said, okay, thumbs up, you're on board, I agree to do this, thumbs down, let's discuss this further. And basically everyone gives a thumbs up and we move on. And what happens is it becomes not a me dictating how things are, it becomes an us. This is what we agreed to, how the vibe, what the room is going to be like, and so on. And what I get to do in future discussions, if I'm noticing a problem, I guess I'll call it, I get to refer to that. And what I try to do, if I do have students who seem to be getting distracted, What works best for me is to talk to students one-on-one, not at their desk. Come to my desk, go in the hall, maybe before class has started, maybe after class, and just say, hey, hey Billy, here's what I'm noticing in class. When I look at your computer screen, I'm noticing maybe something, a game, let's say a YouTube gaming video going on or something. Or I'm noticing your phone's out and you're scrolling through your phone. Or I'm noticing you have an earbud in your ear. And tell me what's going on with that. And sometimes they say, I'm just listening to music. And you can decide if that's a distraction for students or not. That's a tough call. But I have had students go, you're right. I have been distracted. And I can turn that discussion, refer to, we talked about how you said you would give attention to the classwork. We agreed to that. We agreed to use technology responsibly. Do you think that's when you do that, do you think that's, going along with our norms? And we can have a respectful conversation, focus on the behavior, not the student being good or bad or doing the right or wrong thing. It's about the behavior. Is this getting you what you want? I can turn that into a discussion about their goals. Like, why are you in this class? We've talked about previously in a previous video about goal maps and how I start the year having students think about why are they coming? What's their carrot? What's the point of coming to this class? And kind of relate the technology, the distractions, and so on to ultimately what they want to get out of this program and these courses. And get them thinking that way. And make sure they know that you're on their side, that you want to help them stay engaged and meet their goals and get what they want out of the program. Certifications, a certain skill set, not just about getting a grade. Grades don't matter to an employer. Grades, it's about, do you have the skills? Do you know what you're talking about? Are you good at what you do? That's what an employer is looking for. So those discussions in general go really well. I even had students just a couple weeks ago, you know what, will you just take my phone away? And because I say, how can I help? Will you just take my phone? It's really distracting me. I have students who say that. It's like, you know what, I'm never gonna have a power struggle and take their belonging, their phone. That's a recipe for a fist fight maybe with some students. That's not kind, that's not being respectful of their stuff. I've never really used this, but since that student said that, I do have one of those hanging things that you might see in grade school with its pockets. And so I'm gonna probably approach my classes and say, hey, I noticed some of you have said you want help getting your phone away as a distraction. I'm gonna put this in the front of the room. If you wanna slip your phone in there during class to keep it away as a distraction, feel free to use this. It's optional. I'm not forcing it. It's an option for students who are, maybe you could consider it mature enough to handle that and make that decision. I also acknowledge the fact, and what the associate I said, students who have their phones out are often frustrated, maybe feeling stupid, and this device it's like their blankie, or it's like sucking their thumb. This is their safety. This is where they feel safe and warm and secure, and it's a bubble. From my perspective, they are pulling this out because it protects them. It's a barrier from, again, feeling stupid or being insecure or being vulnerable. So I keep that in mind and try not to take it personally, but see that this is a device that is being used in that way. Also, we know that big tech and so on is every app and so on is designed for them to be completely addicted to the app and the device. So I have that perspective that this is not so much to blame for the student, but that they are addicted to this device. And so if this is an addiction to them, how do I handle this in a way that respects that they are hooked on this device? So ultimately, what I've come to as a conclusion for how I handle phones is I challenge myself as an instructor to be more engaging than a device. That's a really hard thing to do. So when the students enter the room, am I engaging them with an activity? Because the first thing students want to do is sit down, pull out their device, and tune out. Am I engaging them with an activity? Am I getting their attention? So what I will say at the beginning of class is, can you raise your hand and let me know you're tuned in? So they're raising their hand as a visual signal that they've heard me and they are tuned in and listening to me. Now, a lot of students will go like this and stare at their phone and just look up. But it's not a perfect system, and then I will say explicitly, your eyes let me know you're listening. I really appreciate when you look at me while I'm talking. I will joke and say, I'm narcissistic. I really think I'm the most important person in the room when I'm talking. I'll say, I'm kind of joking, I'm kind of not, but I really appreciate your attention when I'm talking. When your eyes are on me, that helps me feel like you're listening. When you're nodding and showing you're engaged, that really helps me know you're tuned in and we're going to keep learning and growing in this class and so on. Am I giving students time to speak and maybe think, pair, share? Are they talking to their neighbor? Are they, I draw names. Is that keeping them engaged because they never know if they're going to be the student who's called on to answer a question based on the material? Am I walking around the room when I say, hey, let's all pull up this website or this lab or this resource? Am I walking around the room or using my teacher aids to walk around the room to say, okay, and walking behind them, looking at their screens and saying, hey, did you find that? Are you good? Do you have any questions? And pausing throughout the lesson and doing some formative assessments and checks for understanding to make sure students are engaged. Am I taking breaks and saying, hey, we've talked a while, let's take 5, and give them an opportunity to, hit the restroom, maybe pull out their phone and check something and so on. So in the end, I have much more success when I approach my classroom in a phone and device that way, for me to be an engaging instructor, to keep students moving and learning and constantly checking in with them, rather than setting them and saying, hey, go do this assignment, and setting them free. And then, the phone, it's much more of an environment for students to pull out their phone and just kind of tune out, maybe do a little work, but they're getting distracted. Their device is set up to addict them and keep them focused there. I need to be active and engaging, and it's a lot of work, but I found success in that because it works. When I'm walking around the room, when I'm engaging students, when I'm checking for understanding, when I'm making sure everyone's on the same page, and students seem to be happier when I'm doing that rather than setting them free, and who knows if they're doing the activity or not. So how do you keep your students engaged? How do you handle phones in your class? I'd love to know in the comments. This is Cyber Sam with Let's Teach Tech. We'll see you next time.